I want a divorce. Claire dropped her handbag onto the dining table, as if she had just announced another business decision. I stayed in my chair. Her eyes were still bright from the champagne she had been drinking. Her expensive black dress was perfect. Her hair was perfectly styled, and the diamond bracelet on her wrist caught the light every time she moved. I noticed one thing. She was smiling. Not because she was nervous, because she was finally getting what she wanted. Did you hear me? My fingers rested against the edge of the table. I heard you. Claire frowned. That's it. For 6 years, I had imagined this moment many times. I had imagined begging her to stay. I had imagined asking what I had done wrong. I had imagined promising to change anything she wanted. But tonight, I was too tired to imagine any of it. You've already decided? I decided weeks ago. She pulled out a chair and sat across from me. Ryan understands where I'm going. He understands my work. He understands what I need. There it was again. Ryan. His name had slowly become part of our marriage, even though he had never been invited into it. I remembered the dinners I had eaten alone while Claire worked late with him. I remembered my messages sitting unread for hours. Are you coming home? I saved dinner for you. Can we talk tonight? Sometimes she replied with one word. Busy. Other times, she didn't reply at all. A few months earlier, at one of her company parties, I had watched her introduce Ryan to a group of investors. This is Ryan. He actually understands me. She had laughed when she said it. I had smiled that night. I had even congratulated him. That was the last time I pretended I wasn't being replaced. Claire leaned forward. I don't want another argument, Ethan. You won't get one. Her eyebrows lifted. You're not going to fight for us? I reached beside my chair and picked up a thin black folder. No. I placed it on the table between us. Her eyes moved to the folder. What is that? The divorce contract. She stared at me for a second. Then she smiled. I knew you'd eventually understand. My hand stayed on the folder. You wanted this? Yes. Then read it. Claire opened the folder. I waited. She glanced at the first page, then at the signature line. That was all. She didn't read the rest. She picked up the pen. My heart still hurt. That surprised me. Even after everything, watching the woman I loved sign away 6 years of our marriage felt like someone had reached inside me and pulled something loose. Claire signed her name. Then she pushed the papers toward me. Happy now? I didn't touch them. She stood and slowly removed her wedding ring. The small diamond landed on the table with a soft click. I suppose this is yours now. I looked at the ring. That ring had been on her finger when she promised me forever. I had worked 3 extra months to afford it. She had cried when I gave it to her. Now she couldn't even look at it. I reached for my own ring. Claire watched me. I slipped it from my finger and placed it beside hers. Her expression changed for half a second. Then the cold smile returned. So that's it. I picked up the folder. You wanted a divorce. I expected you to be more emotional. I already was. She crossed her arms. When? Every night you didn't come home. Her smile disappeared. Don't start blaming me. I'm not. Then what are you doing? I stood. Leaving. She gave a short laugh. You're actually leaving? I walked toward the bedroom. Ethan, this is your house too. I stopped. For a moment, I almost turned around. Then I remembered something. The house had always been mine too. But somehow, I had spent years feeling like a guest inside it. I took one suitcase from the closet. Claire followed me to the doorway. You're being dramatic? I folded 2 shirts and placed them inside. You don't need to leave tonight. I stopped packing. That was the first thing she had said that sounded like she cared. I turned toward her. Do you want me to stay? She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. That answer was enough. I packed the rest of my clothes. My hands were steady, even though my heart wasn't. On the way out, I passed the wedding photograph hanging above the staircase. Claire and I were smiling in it. Her hand was around mine. I looked at that picture for a few seconds. Then I walked past it. Behind me, Claire's voice became softer. You really aren't going to say anything? I kept walking. What do you want me to say? She had no answer. I reached the front door and picked up my suitcase. Claire stood several steps behind me. For years, I had waited for her to stop me. Tonight, I finally understood that I couldn't keep waiting. I opened the door. Cold night air touched my face. My phone vibrated. Daniel. I ignored the call at first. Then I stopped on the porch and looked back at the house. Claire was still standing there. The woman I had once built my entire life around was watching me leave with one suitcase. I opened my messages and typed 3 words. She signed. I sent them to Daniel. My phone rang immediately. Ethan. Daniel's voice had changed. What happened? She signed the divorce contract. There was a long pause. Did she actually read who drafted it? I looked through the open doorway at Claire. No. Daniel went completely silent. Then his voice dropped. Good. I tightened my grip on the suitcase. Why? Because if Claire had read that name, another pause, she never would have signed it. I looked back at the house. For the first time that night, I smiled. Because the name at the bottom of that contract wasn't a lawyer's. It was mine. Daniel opened the apartment door before I could knock. He took one look at my suitcase and stepped aside. You really left. I walked in. I told you I would. He closed the door behind me and stared at the wedding ring missing from my hand. Did she sign? Yes. Daniel exhaled slowly. Then we need to talk. I placed my suitcase beside the couch. About Ryan. His expression hardened. You finally found out? I found out 6 months ago. Daniel went still. 6 months? I nodded. I saw the first transfer by accident. Ryan moved money from Morgan Design Group into a company that didn't belong to the group. And you said nothing? I needed proof. Daniel walked toward the kitchen. You could have told Claire. She wouldn't have believed me. That answer hurt more than I expected. Because I knew it was true. Claire trusted Ryan with numbers she never showed me. She trusted him with meetings she never invited me to. She trusted him with her future. And somehow, I had become the person she trusted least. Daniel placed 2 glasses on the counter. You should have told her who you really were. I looked at him. What would that have changed? Everything. No. I shook my head. It would have changed how she saw her own success. I didn't want that. Daniel leaned against the counter. You still don't understand. You weren't just her husband. I know. You helped build that company. I looked down at my hands. Before Claire and I married, Morgan Design Group was almost finished. Victor Morgan had made several bad investments, and the company was drowning in debt. I had studied the numbers. I rebuilt their payment system. I found investors. I negotiated guarantees. Then I stepped away. Claire took over the company. She believed she had saved her father's business herself. I never corrected her. Daniel watched me carefully. You let her think you were ordinary. I wanted her to be proud of herself. And now, I picked up my phone. Now I want my life back. My screen showed dozens of notifications. Claire had already posted about the divorce. Her announcement was simple. New beginnings. New direction. No more limitations. Underneath, it was a photograph of Claire standing beside Ryan. My stomach turned. Daniel saw my face. Don't look. I need to. The comments were already pouring in. People congratulated Claire. People praised Ryan. Someone wrote, finally, she's free to become the woman she was meant to be. I locked my phone. Let them celebrate. Daniel frowned. You don't sound angry. I am. I picked up my suitcase. But anger doesn't mean I have to lose control. The next morning, Claire held a company event. I wasn't there, but I saw the video. She stood beneath the Morgan Design Group logo, while Ryan stood beside her. Our next chapter begins today, she announced. Her smile looked perfect. We're restructuring the company and expanding internationally. Ryan lifted his glass. To freedom. The room applauded. Then Claire's phone rang. She stepped away from the crowd. I watched the video later and saw her smile disappear. The bank had restricted several corporate accounts. She returned to the room with a different face. Ryan followed her into a private office. What happened? She pushed the phone toward him. 3 accounts are frozen. Ryan stared at the screen. It's probably a compliance review. Why would they freeze all 3? It happens. She didn't look convinced. Can you fix it? Give me a few hours. But the problem didn't disappear. More accounts were restricted. Then suppliers stopped receiving payments. Then the bank requested documents signed by me. Claire called me that evening. My phone displayed her name, Claire. I stared at it. 6 years of memory sat behind that name. Late-night calls, birthday messages, arguments, promises. That first anniversary. Her voice telling me she loved me. My thumb hovered over the screen. Then I answered. Hello. Where are you? At Daniel's. You need to come back. I leaned against the window. Why? There's a problem with the company. I know. Her breathing changed. You know, I've been watching. Then help me. I closed my eyes. Claire, you signed the contract. That doesn't mean you can abandon us. I almost laughed. You already abandoned us. That is not fair. No, it isn't. She became quiet. Then her voice hardened. Did you do this? Do what? Freeze the accounts. No. Then why does the bank need your authorization? Because some of those guarantees were mine. You never told me about them. You never asked. She stopped breathing for a moment. Then anger replaced the shock. You're enjoying this. No. You finally found a way to hurt me. I looked at the city lights outside the window. I never needed a way to hurt you. Her voice dropped. Then come home. I almost said yes. That was the frightening part. Even after everything, one sentence from her could still pull me backward. My hand tightened around the phone. I won't. Ethan, I'll send the documents you need. But I'm not coming back. You're being cruel. I swallowed. No, I'm finally being honest. The call ended. I stared at her name again. Then I opened her contact. My finger hovered over delete. I waited. My heart wanted one more message. My pride wanted silence. I pressed delete. The contact disappeared. I placed the phone on the table. Daniel watched from the doorway. You okay? I looked at the empty screen. No. Then I picked up my laptop. But I'll be okay. Across the city, Claire finally opened the divorce contract. She had ignored it until the bank demanded the original agreement. Her eyes moved across the pages. Then she reached the final section. Her face changed. At the bottom of the document was the name of its author, Ethan Carter. She laughed once. It was a nervous, confused sound. Ethan? Then she read the next clause. Her smile vanished. All financial guarantees personally provided by Ethan Carter terminate immediately upon execution of this agreement. Her fingers stopped moving. She read it again. Then again. Almost every major company loan had been protected by me. And when Claire signed that contract without reading it, she had just watched me walk away from all of them. She finally understood. The man she thought she had broken had been holding her entire world together. And now, he was gone. Ryan was standing beside Claire when I walked into Morgan Design Group. I hadn't planned to come there. I had spent the morning registering my own consulting firm, opening a new business account, and signing my first client. For once, my future was sitting in front of me instead of behind me. Then Daniel called. 300 employees could lose their jobs. I closed my laptop. Send me the details. Now I stood inside the company I had once helped save, watching Ryan point a finger at me. This is Ethan's fault. Claire turned toward me. You knew this would happen? No. You walked away knowing the guarantees would end. I walked away from the marriage, not from the people working here. Ryan stepped closer. Don't pretend you're the hero. You created this mess. I kept my voice calm. Then show me one document where I caused it. He opened his mouth. Nothing came. Claire noticed. Ryan, we don't have time for this. That isn't an answer. Before he could continue, Sophia hurried into the room. She had a folder pressed against her chest. Claire, we need to talk. Ryan's face changed. Not now. Sophia didn't even look at him. I found something. Claire took the folder. What? Transfers. Sophia opened the first page. Money from the company went into a separate account 6 months ago. Ryan's jaw tightened. That proves nothing. There are 12 transfers. She turned another page. They all connect to Blake Holdings. Claire stared at the name. Blake Holdings? Ryan rubbed his forehead. It's a temporary investment account. Sophia shook her head. No, it's registered to a company that shares your private address. Claire slowly turned toward him. You told me that company was independent. It is. Then why is your signature on the account? Ryan stopped talking. I watched Claire's confidence collapse piece by piece. She looked at me. You knew. I suspected. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't have enough proof. Ryan suddenly pointed toward me. He planted this. Sophia's eyes narrowed. You're blaming Ethan again? He wants Claire's company. I almost laughed. If I wanted the company, Ryan, I wouldn't have spent 6 years protecting it. Claire stepped between us. Enough. Her voice shook. She turned to Ryan. How much did you move? Claire. How much? He didn't answer. Sophia placed another document on the table. There's more. Claire read it. Her face went pale. You borrowed against company assets? Ryan lowered his eyes. It was supposed to be temporary. You used my company as collateral. I was going to fix it. Claire pushed the papers away. You lied to me. I watched her hands tremble. Part of me wanted to comfort her. That old instinct was still alive. But I had learned something painful. Sometimes helping someone meant refusing to rescue them from consequences they created. Claire came toward me after the meeting. Ethan. I stopped. Please. I turned. Come back. The words hit harder than I expected. Not because I wanted to hear them, because I had spent years waiting for them. You need me. Her eyes filled with frustration. I need someone I can trust. You had me. She lowered her voice. I know. No, you don't. She swallowed. Then help me understand. I stared at her for a long moment. Meet me tonight. Her expression softened. Where? The restaurant where we had our first anniversary. She nodded. Thank you. I walked away before she could see how much that meeting still mattered to me. That evening, I arrived early. The same corner table was still there. The same warm lights hung above the room. 6 years earlier, Claire had held my hand across this table and promised we would build a life together. Tonight, she sat across from me with both hands wrapped around a glass of water. I remember this place. So do I. She looked down. I've been thinking about everything. That can be dangerous. A weak smile appeared. You still make jokes when you're uncomfortable. Some things don't change. Her smile disappeared. I treated you like you didn't matter. I didn't answer. I thought you were passive. You called me ordinary. Her eyes closed. I know. You believed Ryan understood you better. I was wrong. The words were simple. They still hurt. She reached into her handbag and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I found this today. I recognized it immediately. An old handwritten note. My handwriting. She unfolded it carefully. You left this beside my laptop. I remembered. Claire had been working until 2 in the morning before a major presentation. I had made her food, placed it beside her laptop, and written, You don't have to win every day. Just don't give up on yourself. Her voice became quieter. I thought you were encouraging me to win the presentation. You needed more than that. She looked at me. What did you mean? I leaned back. I meant you. Her eyes filled with tears. I never understood. I know. She wiped her cheek. Why didn't you tell me what you had done for the company? Because I wanted it to be yours. She frowned. What? Your success. I placed my hands on the table. If I told you I had rebuilt the financial system, negotiated the guarantees, and helped save your father's company, you would have wondered whether every achievement belonged to you. Her lips parted. I didn't want you to owe me. You should have told me. Maybe. I looked toward the window. But I wanted my wife to feel proud when she looked at her own life. She whispered my name. I shook my head. Don't, Ethan. I came here because employees need help, not because our marriage needs another chance. She nodded slowly. Then she asked the question I had expected. Did my father know? I didn't answer immediately. He knew enough. Her eyes changed. My father knew? Yes. She lowered her head. I was the only person who didn't know. I didn't correct her. That was the hardest truth. She had spent years believing my silence meant I had nothing to offer. She never understood that my silence had protected her pride. My phone vibrated. Daniel. I answered. What's wrong? His voice was sharp. Ryan found out Sophia has the transfer records. I stood immediately. Where is she? Before Daniel could answer, another message arrived. Sophia. He's here. I stared at the screen. Claire noticed my face. What happened? I grabbed my coat. Ryan knows. We rushed back toward the company, but before we reached the office, I saw Ryan standing in the hallway. Sophia was backed against the wall. He reached for the folder in her hands. Then another voice cut through the hallway. Ryan. Victor Morgan stepped out of the elevator. Everyone froze. Victor looked at Ryan, then at Claire. His face carried years of regret. I finally understand why Ethan left. He placed an old financial file on the table. I recognized the cover immediately. Inside were the original documents from 6 years ago. My signatures, my investment records, my guarantees. Proof that I had saved Morgan Design Group long before Claire and Ryan ever became partners. Claire stared at the pages. Then she looked at me, and this time, she finally understood what my silence had been protecting. Ryan's face changed when Victor placed the old file on the table. I knew that look. It was the look of a man who had just realized the room was no longer under his control. Claire opened the file with shaking hands. "What is this?" Victor pulled out the first document. 6 years ago, this company was almost finished. Claire stared at the signatures. "My father." "Not your father," Victor interrupted. "Ethan." I didn't move. Claire looked at me. "You did this?" I nodded. Victor's voice became heavy. He invested his own money when our banks refused us. He rebuilt the payment system, negotiated the guarantees, and stopped the company from collapsing. Claire turned another page. There were my signatures everywhere. "I thought you were just helping with the books." "I was." "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't want you to think you needed me to succeed." Her eyes filled. Ryan stepped forward. This is exactly what he wanted. I turned toward him. "What? You manipulated the divorce contract?" "No. You knew Claire would sign it without reading." "Yes." Ryan smiled. "Then you planned this." "I planned to protect myself." "You knew removing your guarantees would create a crisis." "I knew removing my guarantees would expose obligations that were never supposed to exist." Ryan's smile disappeared. Victor reached for another document. "This is the original agreement." He placed it in front of Claire. The company could only receive those guarantees under one condition. Ethan had to remain personally responsible while he was married to the majority owner. Claire's fingers froze. Ryan shook his head. "That doesn't prove anything." I opened my laptop. "It proves everything." I turned the screen toward them. Bank transfers appeared one after another. Dates, amounts, account numbers. Each transfer connected to Ryan's private company. Claire covered her mouth. "You took company money." Ryan stepped toward her. "It wasn't like that." 12 transfers. "I was investing it." "Into your own company?" His voice rose. "You don't understand business." Claire stepped back. "No, I understand betrayal." The room went quiet. Ryan pointed at me. "He destroyed your marriage so he could take control." I closed the laptop. "You're still lying." Ryan laughed bitterly. "Then prove it." I opened another file. Inside were messages between Ryan and a private investor. One line was enough. "Once Ethan is gone, Claire will depend on us. The company can be transferred in stages." Claire read it twice. Her face became empty. "You plan to take my company." Ryan reached for her. "Claire, listen." She stepped away. "Don't touch me." I had never heard her speak to him like that. The man she once defended had finally become the man she could see. Ryan tried again. "You don't understand what Ethan did." "I understand what you did." 2 security officers entered the room. Behind them stood several senior employees. I had already sent the evidence to the authorities and the board. Ryan looked around. "You called them?" "I called everyone who needed to know." He turned toward Claire. "You're really choosing him?" Claire shook her head. "No." She looked at me. "He isn't asking me to choose him." Ryan's face went pale. The officers took him away. I watched without satisfaction. I had imagined this moment many times. I thought revenge would feel powerful. Instead, I felt tired. The employees gathered around me afterward. One of them stepped forward. "Are we losing our jobs?" "No." "How do you know?" "Because I won't let Ryan's choices destroy people who had nothing to do with them." I gave the board the financial plan I had prepared. "We can keep the company alive." Claire stared at me. "You already planned this." "I prepared for the worst." "You prepared for me to leave." "I prepared for you to choose whatever life you wanted." Her eyes dropped. Victor walked toward me. "I owe you an apology." I shook my head. "You don't owe me anything. I underestimated you." "You underestimated what silence meant." Victor lowered his eyes. "I did." Claire stayed behind after everyone left. She had changed out of her business clothes. For the first time in years, She looked tired instead of powerful. I signed the papers. Yes. I didn't read them. No. I thought you were giving me what I wanted. You were. She looked confused. You really wanted the divorce? I took a breath. I wanted to stop begging you to stay. Her eyes filled again. I thought money made Ryan more valuable than you. That was never the problem. Then what was? You stopped seeing me. She nodded slowly. I did. I expected another apology. Instead, she reached into her handbag. Her wedding ring rested in her palm. She walked to the table and placed it between us. I don't deserve to wear this. I looked at the ring. 6 years of memories sat inside that tiny circle. But I didn't touch it. Claire waited. You're not taking it? No. Why? Because I don't want anything from the woman who signed our marriage away without reading the page. Her face tightened. I understand. She took a breath. I'll sell part of my shares. I looked up. To repay the losses. And the employees? I'll protect their jobs. You don't have to. I know. She nodded. That was the difference now. She wasn't asking me to save her. She was finally learning to accept the consequences of her own choices. She turned toward the door, then stopped. Ethan, I waited. If you knew everything, why didn't you expose me months ago? I looked at the divorce contract lying between us. My voice stayed quiet. Because I wasn't trying to destroy you. I pushed the contract toward her. I was trying to stop destroying myself. Her eyes filled with tears. She covered her mouth and turned away. I didn't reach for her. I didn't chase her. I didn't take the ring. For years, I had believed loving Claire meant protecting her from every consequence. Now I understood something different. Sometimes love ends when self-respect begins. And as Claire walked away, I finally knew I wasn't losing my wife anymore. I was choosing myself. 3 months after the divorce, Morgan Design Group was still standing. Ryan was gone. The missing money had been recovered. The employees had kept their jobs. And I had built something of my own. My new consulting firm had started with 1 desk, 1 laptop, and Daniel sitting across from me with coffee in his hand. You realize you're actually smiling at work now? I glanced at him. Maybe I finally like my job. Daniel laughed. No, you finally like your life. I wanted to argue. Instead, I looked around my small office. It wasn't the mansion Claire and I had shared. There was no expensive marble floor or giant glass staircase. Just a desk, a few shelves, and a window overlooking the city. Yet every part of it belonged to me. That mattered more than I expected. Claire had changed too. She stayed with Morgan Design Group. She sold part of her shares to repay the losses and spent months meeting employees she had once ignored. I heard about it through Daniel. She stayed late with the staff yesterday. I kept working. Good. She also turned down a new investor because their terms were unfair. I looked up. That's different. It is. I nodded. Then maybe she's learning. I didn't ask about her after that. I didn't need to. My life was moving forward. Then, one Thursday evening, my assistant knocked on the office door. There's someone here to see you. Who? She hesitated. Claire Morgan. My hand stopped above the keyboard. For several seconds, I didn't move. Then I closed the laptop. Send her in. Claire entered alone. No expensive dress. No business smile. No ring on her finger. She carried a small box in both hands. Can I stay for a few minutes? I pointed toward the chair. Of course. She sat down. I noticed how carefully she placed the box beside her. I heard your company is doing well. It is. I'm glad. Thank you. She looked around my office. You built all this yourself? Mostly. A faint smile touched her face. You still give other people credit. Some things don't need to change. Her smile faded. I didn't come here to ask for money. I know. I didn't come to ask you to fix anything. I leaned back. Then why are you here? She opened the box. Inside was my wedding ring. I stared at it. You kept it. I couldn't throw it away. She pushed the box toward me. I think it belongs with you. I picked up the ring. It felt heavier than I remembered. I don't want you to misunderstand. I won't. I still remember everything good. My fingers closed around the ring. So do I. Our first apartment. The terrible kitchen. She smiled. You burned pasta. You laughed for 20 minutes. You deserved it. I probably did. For a few seconds, the room felt like another life. Then reality returned. Claire lowered her eyes. I missed that man. I knew exactly who she meant. The man who waited for you. Yes. The man who kept forgiving you. Her eyes became wet. Yes. He's gone. She nodded. I know. That answer surprised me. There was no argument. No attempt to change my mind. I used to think regret meant I deserved another chance. She wiped her cheek. Now I understand that regret doesn't give me one. I remained quiet. She continued. I hurt you because I thought your patience meant you would always stay. My throat tightened. You weren't wrong. She looked up. You're right. I wasn't. That honesty hurt more than an excuse would have. I thought success made Ryan more valuable than you. I thought ambition mattered more than kindness. I thought your silence meant you had nothing to say. She took a slow breath. I was wrong about all of it. I placed the ring on the desk. I forgive you. Her eyes widened. You do? Yes. A tear rolled down her cheek. Does that mean? No. She stopped. I kept my voice gentle. Forgiveness isn't a promise to return. She nodded slowly. I know. I loved you. I know. I probably always will remember you. She pressed her lips together. But I can't go back. Her fingers tightened around the edge of the chair. Because of everything I did? Because of who I became while I was trying to keep you? She lowered her head. I made you disappear. Yes. And now you've found yourself again. Yes. She stood. For a second, I thought she might ask me to follow her. She didn't. She picked up her empty box. I'm proud of you. I smiled faintly. You don't have to be. I want to be. She walked toward the door, then stopped. Can I ask one thing? Sure. Did you ever hate me? I thought about it. I hated what I became around you. She nodded. That hurts more. It should. She accepted it. Then she opened the door. Goodbye, Ethan. Goodbye, Claire. She walked away without turning around, and I didn't call her back. I sat alone for several minutes. Then I opened the drawer beneath my desk. Inside was the original divorce contract. I placed the wedding ring beside it. Two small objects. One represented the marriage I had lost. The other represented the life I had chosen. I closed the drawer and locked it. Later that evening, I checked my phone. Claire's number was still there. For months, I had kept it deleted. My thumb hovered over the screen. Then I saved it again. Not as my wife. Just Claire Morgan. Nothing more. I put the phone away and walked outside. The evening air was cool. Cars moved through the streets, lights glowing against the darkening sky. Daniel called. You okay? I looked up at the city. Yeah. You sure? I smiled. I'm sure. For years, I thought my life ended when Claire stopped loving me. I was wrong. My life didn't end when she left. It began when I stopped begging someone to choose me. I closed my hand around the wedding ring one last time before putting it safely away. I loved her once. I forgave her eventually. I looked toward the road ahead. But I never abandoned myself again.